Chapter 10, Yufang Ian. The banquet of Qing Yuan Bafu will be opened tomorrow, and after getting Zhang Xuaning's go word, Tanger drafted a reply and sent it to Qing Yuan Bafu. After all, sending an invitation is just an invitation, not everyone who receives the invitation will go. If you reply to the host's house, it is better to arrange it in advance on the day of the banquet. It's just that Yan Lin knew about it. At the end of the day, he and Shen Ju went out of the palace and made tea in Shen Ju's mansion, with a handsome face dark and gloomy, and lost his temper. I asked her if she would watch the Lantern Festival on September 9th, and she didn't go. Qing Yuan Bafu is so broken, is she bent on angry with me? In the matter of children, Shen Ju was not good at interjecting, and only looked at him. Yan Lin couldn't think about it, and he still tasted it in his heart. As soon as the teacup was served, I couldn't drink it, so I put it back again. He frowned and called, "Qing Feng, you go back to the house to see if there is an invitation from Qing Yuan Bafu in our house. If there is one, go and reply to a post, and I will go there then. If you don't have it, you have to have it. Just take my name and hand it over, and dare to stop me from the door." Qing Feng hesitated for a moment, and reminded carefully, "But the prince, the Qinqiu mansion also sent a post, if you go to the Qing Yuan Bafu at that time." The Xiao clan of the Qinqiu mansion is the only big clan in Beijing that can stand side by side with the Yan clan. More than 20 years ago, the two families had in-laws. But now, Yan Lin sneered, "The Qinqiu mansion is a banquet for the adults, and the juniors are just accompanied, and our Yanji mansion and the Qinqiu mansion have long been old and dead, so what's the surprise that I don't go?" Qing Feng didn't dare to say more, but asked, "Do you want to tell the second girl?" Yan Lin said sullenly, "Don't tell. I'd like to see what she's going to be able to tell when she sees me." Shen Ju laughed at him, "You have such a temper." But after finishing speaking, after thinking about it carefully, he actually said, "In this case, I will also accompany you to Qing Yuan Bafu to have a good time." Yan Lin raised an eyebrow at him. Shen Ju drank the tea slowly and explained, "You also know the recent rumors in the palace, all of which say that the imperial brother wants to make me the imperial brother. When I came out of the Wenhua Hall today, Mr. Xie ordered me, saying that the words of the people in the DPRK and China are terrible, and even if I have a clear conscience, it is best to distance myself from the Xiao family recently. The Qinqiu mansion is also the Xiao family, which is the mother family of the current Queen Mother, and it is also the foreign family of today's saints. Shen Ju and Shen Lang are brothers of the same mother, and the saint's foreign family is naturally his foreign family. It's just that the timing is really special. After all, the imperial brother is the emperor, and the Xiao family is powerful, although it is rumored that the imperial brother wants to make him the imperial brother, but he is close to the Xiao family, which will inevitably arouse the suspicion of the imperial brother." Yan Lin lowered his eyes and pondered for a moment. "Mr. Xie is willing to point you out." Shen Ju didn't care, but said, "Mr. is a gentleman, a saint's legacy, and it is good for everyone." Asterisk. The Qinqiu mansion and the Qing Yuan Bafu posted the same post to invite the Chongyang Chrysanthemum banquet, which has already been quietly spread among the high-ranking families in Beijing, and many people who received invitations from the two mansions at the same time are mostly ready to go to the Qinqiu mansion. Without him, the Xiao family is too prominent. The door is not very high, and it is climbed in a hurry. The door itself is high enough, and it looks down on the Qing Yuan Bafu to settle down. So although I felt that this matter was very refutable to Yufu's face, many people had to find an excuse, and they didn't even bother to find an excuse, so they pushed away Qing Yuan Bafu's side. Everyone guessed that few people would go to Bafu this time. But no one expected that in the afternoon, news suddenly came out that the little Marquis of Yanji Mansion and His Royal Highness the King of Lindsay had replied to the post, and they would go to the banquet of Qing Yuan Bafu together tomorrow. For a moment, everyone's jaws dropped. Even the Bafu was at a loss, and everyone looked at each other. Do we have a friendship with the Marquis of Yanji? Who knows the little Marquis? Which one caught up with His Royal Highness the King of Lindsay? Have you said a few words? Why did the innocent person come? But then came ecstasy. Originally, they collided with the Chinquo mansion on the day of the banquet. They were both sincerely frightened and embarrassed, and the replies they have received in recent days have been sparse and there are not a few letters, not to mention, and half of them are politely rejected when they are opened. Here in Yufo, you can feel the bleak scene of tomorrow's feast. But suddenly, it was said that His Royal Highness the King of Lindsay and the little Marquis were coming. This was really good news falling from the sky. You must know that the identities of these two masters are second to none in the entire capital. The whole house suddenly cheered up. In the evening, the news that Yan Lin and Shen Ju were coming tomorrow had spread, and all kinds of replies and greetings flew towards Qing Yuan Bafu's mansion like snowflakes. Originally, they had prepared a table to get off the table, but they thought it was too much. But I didn't expect to take the abacus and pull it, it was not enough. So I got up overnight, and the courtyard of the house was brightly lit overnight, for fear that I would not be ready, and I would treat the distinguished guests slowly tomorrow. There are two young ladies in Yu Mansion, the eldest lady is called Yu Shuang, and the second lady is called Yu Yu. The two sisters are both middle class. When they heard that the King of Lindsay and the little Marquis were coming, their eyes widened and they were so shocked that they covered their lips with their hands. The subordinates were full of joy, and only said to the two of them, "Uncle has explained, this time is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, the eldest lady and the second miss should be ready and dress up beautifully." This sentence is said implicitly. But Yu Shuang and Yu Yu both understood. Their faces were slightly red, but they said, "Father is really troublesome, such an important banquet, our sisters will naturally not lose the dignity of the Bafu." The subordinate said yes repeatedly. Yu Shuang thought about it, but felt that something was unusual. Her face was colder, and she only stared at her eyebrows and thought, "It's really strange, when did our Bafu climb up to the Yanji Marquis mansion? I have never heard that my brothers have any friendship with the little Marquis and His Royal Highness the King of Lindsay, how can they come today?" And the time to reply to the post was too late. It seems like a temporary decision. Yu Yu is happy. She looks more colorful, she is young, and she looks very delicate in a goose yellow dress. Listening to her sister's words, she didn't care much. "Sister is just too careful, don't you want to come here temporarily?" It is said that the Xiao family and the Yan family are not in harmony, and Yan Shiza may not have deliberately lowered the face of the Chinquo mansion, so he came. It's not impossible. But it's to save face in the Chinquo mansion. If you don't go, how can you get the turn to make face for our uncle's mansion? Yu Shuang is a sister, and she has learned a lot of things from her mother, so she always thinks deeply, so she asks the next person, "I ask you," before the reply of Yan Shizi and His Royal Highness King Lindsay, who else said that they wanted to come? The subordinate counted with his fingers, before the prince and His Royal Highness, there were not many people who replied that there were not many people coming, and the Communist Party was also Shangshanbo Mansion, Yoshi Taizhou Mansion. Oh, there was also a second girl in the household Zhang Shilang Mansion in the morning. Yu Shuang couldn't help frowning, second Miss Zhang. God knows, the post sent by the Bafu to Zhang Shilang's mansion was sent out of courtesy, and they were not familiar with Zhang Swining. To say that Zhang Suiwai is still normal. But Zhang Swining came, just like Yan Shizi and Lindsay Wang Glei, and she was still in front of these two masters. Yu didn't bother to think so much, and when she heard the words "Second Miss Zhang," she immediately sneered, revealing a look of disgust. It was a great thing that Yan Shizi was coming, but I didn't expect this wild girl from the countryside to come too, which added a bad luck. Yu Shuang felt that something was wrong and didn't answer. When Yu talked about Zhang Xuning, she thought of another person who made her hate, raised her chin and instructed her subordinates, "By the way, if there is a distinguished guest tomorrow, please show me the hoof, lock it in the firewood room, don't call it a collision with the nobleman." Asterisk. Zhang Xuning was in the mansion, but she didn't know how long a series of reactions she had caused because she temporarily decided to go to the banquet in King Yuan's mansion, and she didn't know that Yan Lin and Shen Ju were going. She had a headache thinking about Yu Fangyan. "I didn't sleep well last night, and I was confused and unenergetic all day." When Meng heard that she was going to Qing Yuan Bafu instead of Jinqiu Mansion, she didn't even bother to ask. Zhang Xuning secretly thought that she might be relieved. After all, she is going to the banquet of the Jinqiu Mansion. Take Zhang Suiwai to be dignified and virtuous, and take her there. She has a pampered and stubborn temperament, so I don't know what will happen. Early the next morning, Zhang Xuning got up and used the porridge and rice, dressed up, and then boarded the carriage prepared in the mansion, bypassed half of the imperial city, and went to Qing Yuan Bafu. Qing Yuan Bafu is located in the east of the city. That piece is the house of the nobles. Compared with the frighteningly high lintel of the Jinqiu Mansion, the two stone lions at the entrance of the Qing Yuan Bafu are still a little imposing, but there is a bit of decline between the courtyards. Fortunately, there were quite a few people who came to the banquet today. In front of the cold door in the old days, it can be called a busy traffic at the moment, and there are constantly people greeting each other with a smile on their faces, and entering the door, which makes people wonder if Bafu is going to gain power again. Zhang Xuning had heard Yu Fangyan talk in the previous life, and he was very clear about the current situation of Qing Yuan Bafu, and when he first got out of the car, he saw the lively scene around him, and almost thought that he had come to the wrong place, and raised his head and looked at the plaque again and again to be sure that it was indeed Bafu. She felt strange in her heart, but she didn't want to ask too much. As soon as they handed over the post, the next person led them into the house. A group of people walked under the veranda. Along the road only smelled the fragrance of cinnamon, chrysanthemums scattered, and the arrangement was a little elegant and exquisite. It's just that when he was about to enter the round gate to go to the back garden, a thin figure rushed over from the oblique thorn. A green dress is a little dirty and torn. It was a girl with a hanging hair but a little unkempt, with a panicked face and red eyes. Zhang Xuning felt familiar for a while, and her heart was already shocked. Seeing her running over in a hurry, before she could distinguish or dodge, she hit her on the shoulder. The embroidered brocade sachet tied around the waist fell to the ground. Zhang Xuning stood still, just looking at her. Yu Fangyan escaped from the firewood room, just wanting to see her aunt who was seriously ill and about to go, for fear that she wouldn't even see the last face, but now she just bumped into someone, and she was so anxious that tears fell from her eyes. She hurriedly bent down to pick up the sachet. But the tears fell, but they wet the white peony with dense stitches on the sachet. When I wiped it with my hands, it was already dirty. At this time, Yu Fangyan hated her clumsiness, and she didn't dare to wipe it with her stained hands, so she held the sachet with both hands and handed it back to Zhang Xuning. "Fangyan is stupid, I bumped into the girl and broke your sachet. I will embroider one for the girl another day as compensation, and ask the girl for forgiveness." When she reached out, the sleeve slipped a little. There was no good skin on the exposed wrist, a piece of blue and black bruises, and even a few whip marks. The men who led the way were stunned when they saw her. Zhang Xunning's gaze moved from her face to her wrist, but her face became more and more trance-like. Tang Er reacted very quickly, and saw that the situation was wrong, so she hurriedly came up and took the sachet first. Just give it to me. On the porch at the other end, there was the sound of chaotic footsteps, and there were several mothers-in-law shouting, "No one can see well. If she is locked up, she can still be told to run. It is such an important day, and you can't eat and walk around if something happens. Quick, go and find it." When Yu Fangyan heard this, where did he dare to stay longer? She hurriedly bowed to Zhang Xuning, then lifted the corner of her skirt and ran towards the other end. The flower branches in the road cut through her sleeves and the back of her hands, and she didn't dare to stop. The mothers-in-law at the back quickly spotted her and chased after her. There was a lot of noise. The next person knew that the affairs of the aunt in the house had not been peaceful recently, and he didn't dare to let the guests know, so he hurriedly smiled at Zhang Xuning. "Let the girl laugh, the maids just bought in the house have no rules, and the mothers are teaching a lesson, aren't you surprised?" Zhang Xuning only took the sachet from Tang Er's hand, and the graceful peony was originally embroidered with white thread, so there was a kind of noble elegance, but at this moment, there was a trace of tears, and there was a stain on the tears. She blinked, looking down. Under the long eyelashes, there is a dark shadow. She could hear the cold voice in her heart, "Leave it alone, leave it alone. There are so many people dying every day in the world, what is the extra her? Don't worry about it, in a few hours, you will be able to see the real Yu Fangyan."